Welcome back to Boredom, the video... Oh, wait, sorry. Brave, the video game.
You know, the thought occurs, we have had a few levels, and we have not gotten to play as Merida's mother for quite some time. I thought that was
don't worry, Jova. That's what this level is for.
We could do. Oh, there we go. Asking you shall receive.
Sure, that's the thing, Shiro. It doesn't really matter. The bits where you play as the mom in this game are so brief that they might as well not even be there.
Aren't they arguably like the most fun thing in this game?
Potentially, but they're over before they have a proper chance to take off.
True. Very true.
It's like a blink and you'll miss them type of thing.
Like, is it sad though that I guess this means we won't get any awkward mother-daughter bonding in this like in the movie?
No, like, that's the thing, Jova. As you see, after level 2, the plot basically gets put on pause. Like, seriously, in level 2, the only cutscene we got in the ice level was the Mordu cutscene that was entirely pointless. In this level, if I remember correctly, there's no cutscenes whatsoever, not even in-game cutscenes. So,
you know what I don't get?
So the plot basically gets put on pause throughout most of these levels.
You know what I don't get? Why is this game so linear? Like, okay, so you have all these levels here in this hub world, yet it seems like the only way you can get to each level is by, of course, completing the previous one, which makes the whole thing linear. Like, what? Are there, like, special events that'll happen in certain levels that are why we can only do it linear? Because otherwise, you'd think, like, this would be an opportune time to, give the player the choice of tackling levels in whatever order they want. If only to, I guess, screw some things up. It's not much, but
I'm guessing the designers. Well, remember, Jova, like I've said before, there's a clear difficulty curve for the puzzles. So my guess is the designers made this game with a specific linear difficulty curve in mind, as in they didn't want you tackling the harder puzzles before you tackling the easier puzzles.
I suppose. That said, I have to wonder what's even the point of the hub. Like you said, there's not even a merchant in the hub, so why not just have Merida go straight from level to level?
Heating up. That's the trophy you get for killing 100 enemies with a fire arrow.
How nice. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have it be linear, what's the point of having Merida go back to the hub world? Except for, I guess maybe there will be a final boss in that hub world. But I get the
feeling the developers know that games like Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario Sunshine and other platforms of its ilk, every time you finish a level, you go back to the hub world, but they don't understand why.
Yeah.
They just know they just know that 3D platformers usually have a hub world, but they don't seem to understand why.
It's so baffling though to have a hub world with no reason to go back to it. Like, again, this game kind of amazes me with how it fails at the most basic of game design in some places. Now, it's not enough to make this a spectacularly bad game, but still, I can't help but do a double take when this game does backward stuff like that.
Pew, 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 and shoot. And
again, I have the... Hey, she's Scottish and she has the high ground, Dibs.
Yep. Dibs is bird, though.
Oh, Dibs is bird.
You underestimate my power.
Don't try it.
And then the power is actually I just bagpipe Jova to death or something. Not as in I hit him with a bagpipe, I just play the bagpipe so badly that his ears can't take it.
Oh, Ian McGregor would be so proud.
I'm not even kidding you guys.
I mean, he went from playing a druggie to a Jedi and back to an ex-druggie.
After we're done with this, I'm gonna see if I can succeed at recording the rest of this game in one sitting. I do not promise that, though. I'm gonna record. I will not promise that I'm gonna do more than 2 parts, because I'm not even, like I've said, playing this game is an exercise in fighting sleep. So
would you say that in that regard they technically stayed true to the movie?
I don't find Brave boring personally. I find it more frustrating personally.
True. Yeah, Brave's not so much boring. It is very frustrating. And like I said, I find it to be overall a failure.
I thought it was boring.
Well, Drez, that's because I'm personally angry at missed potential. You personally don't really care much about missed potential in movies.
Yeah, I'm more angry at blatant incompetence.
Yeah.
I think what frustrates me is like, well, once again, Brave was a case of Disney backing the wrong horse, where they poured so much into this movie, thinking, oh, this would be our next big ticket item, while Wreck-It Ralph was supposedly going to be the side project. You know, just like how in their infinite wisdom they thought that Pocahontas would be their big moneymaker and Lion King would just be a little side project.
Yeah.
Oh God, the irony! And they did it again with Black Panther against flipping Ant-Man.
They actually did it recently, Job, in 2016, where Moana was supposed to be the big Frozen successor, whereas Zootopia was just going to be a side project. However, to be fair, both Moana and Zootopia ended up fantastic, so whatever.
Yeah.
Joey, you're telling me that Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't meant to be the side project?
I'm talking mainly about how Disney underestimated Black Panther, but yeah, I guess to be fair, you do have a point about that.
I mean,
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp is like the first Ant-Man movie. It's fine, but I'll be damned if I could tell you the stories of those two.
I don't know.
Other than just broad strokes.
I don't know.
like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I find that the Ant-Man movies are more about being fun heist type movies, and I really like them for that. And the characters are fantastic, so they make up for whatever. It's not so much about the plot itself. It's more so an excuse for character development rather than anything.
That said, I will admit I do like the first Ant-Man movie better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's partially because Ant-Man and the Wasp plot was kind of more paper thin compared to the first one, and also had that caveat where if you had seen enough trailers, you pretty much saw most of the plot of that movie.
Well, it didn't help. Well, the movie wasn't very long anyway. It wasn't even 2 hours.
That scene of Paul Rudd imitating
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, though, that was comedic. That was comedic
That was
gold.
great. I'll just put it like this: Ant-Man and the Wasp is good. That said, the highs and lows of Ant-Man are greater than that of Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I guess you could say, arguably, Ant-Man and the Wasp doesn't go as low as Ant-Man does, but it also doesn't reach as high as Zenith as it does as well. That said,
the whole thing about how inconsistent they are with the whole. It changes the thing changes the size, not the weight thing.
So I'm guessing, Jova, you're making kind of the same argument I would make for Bolt, in the sense that Bolt is a more consistent movie than Meet the Robinsons, but Meet the Robinsons hits higher highs, at least in my opinion.
Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much how I feel about Ant-Man and the Wasp. So mind you, I still had a good time going to see it. It's just that I'll admit, while watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, I felt myself constantly waiting for a nice big climax. I guess the problem is that, yes, as cool a villain as Ghost was, and do not get me wrong, she is one of the better MCU villains, at the end of the day, it's someone with ghost powers versus guy who can grow way taller than you. There you
go. New outfit for Merida. It's just a
Her dress is now white.
Yeah, it's a recolor outfit. My fair lassie, huh?
My fair lassie.
There you go. Not my fair lady, my fair lassie. Get it? Because it's Scottish.
My lassie now here, also in her white gown. So
you see what I mean? But yeah, that thing that I was talking about in part 2 now comes into play, Jova. Notice how the game immediately, automatically equipped the new outfit for me. Meaning, now, but what if I want to stick to the default outfit? I have to get to a merchant before I can change that.
So what is this?
If there are any Scots out there who are offended by mine and Joba's attempts at Scottish accents, we apologise.
So, question: what does the woolen dress do anyway?
It doesn't do anything. It's just cosmetic.
Wow. So it's literally a cosmetic. So that means if you don't like the look of it, you are boned until you get to a merchant. Oh wow.
Again, would it really kill you to put the equipment menu in the pause menu?
Like, it's not like you're even adding on the game time even, because getting to the merchants is an inevitability anyway, so what is the point?
My guess is it's just a plain oversight, most likely.
I guess, but they've got quite a few of those in this game. But yeah, like I said, with Ant-Man and the Wasp, I guess it dials down to the final conflict in the end was not as spectacular as the final conflict in the first Ant-Man. And that one had flipping Thomas the Tank Engine in it.
You can make that argument in terms of the scale, but I still thought there was quite a lot of emotional resonance on finally the family getting reunited.
That was nice, yes. Only to see them later killed and dusted.
Well, to be fair, at the very least, Endgame took care of that at least. So.
But of course, yeah.
It was mostly for the purposes of putting Ant-Man in Endgame because he needed help. So.
Basically, my main point is that Disney thought that Black Panther was going to be, you know, like Ant-Man in the sense where they thought that, oh, this will make just as much or less than Ant-Man because
the Ant-Man movies the Ant-Man movies are actually some of Shiroi's personal favorites of the MCU, right, Shiroi? You once said.
Oh, hey, Queen Eleanor. Right?
I guess she's perfect.
Hear me?
Oh, now we can hear you.
Oh, now we can.
All right.
I was saying that, if I remember correctly, the Ant-Man movies are actually some of your favorites from the MCU.
Yeah, I actually really like those, which is funny because I watched them a lot later than everyone else, and at the time, the consensus was not that it was bad, it's just people didn't really care, and I actually really enjoyed both movies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that, and there were some people who really didn't like the first Ant-Man movie, mostly because Edgar Wright got moved off.
Yeah, whatever. Edgar Wright is overrated. Yeah, that's right. I said it, internet. Cancel me if you want.
Anyway, you gotta love how Queen Eleanor literally appeared out of nowhere just to help her daughter there.
Oh, look! They reused... Look at that, guys! They reused the cutscene from one of the previous levels where she just goes, Mom! See? Now we're even reusing cutscenes.
We're only halfway through this.
Again, you gotta love how her mother literally appears out of nowhere just so that she can have a game.
So there you go. See, Jova? There you go, Jova. That was the mom section. I hope you enjoyed it for the, 15 seconds that it lasted.
Okay. Serious question, though. Whose gameplay do you like better? Merida's or her mother's?
I guess I guess the mom, because I can just keep mashing until it's over. No, literally. They give me 3 moves with the mom. A pound move, a charge move, and just a generic claw swipe move. All you have to do is bumble around with the analog stick and keep mashing the square button and you'll just kill all the enemies easily. You don't even bother with the other moves. You don't need them. Just fucking keep mashing the square button until you win.
Wow. So it's a bit
to get this over quicker.
So, Troy, we're halfway.
Well, okay, so.
But no, I understand. I actually understand what you're saying, Joe, because that's like that's actually the same way I feel when it comes to comparing the first 2 Walt Disney Animation Studios movies produced under John Lasseter's reign, the Meet the Robinsons and Bolt, where Bolt is an overall more consistent movie in the sense that it actually doesn't feel like the second act comes from a different movie. You know, but Meet the Robinsons I found much more creative, more heartfelt, and overall hit more highs. Whereas Bolt, while a solid movie, and with less lows, it didn't really have the same resonance. It's a fine movie. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just very derivative.
Is a dog.
I agree. I did enjoy both movies.
Well, to be fair, Joe. To be fair, Dwebs, I don't know if you've seen Bolt.
No, I haven't.
It's fine. No, don't worry. It's not a Shark Tale scenario. They don't play on the John Travolta gimmick at all. John Travolta is the voice actor, but they don't really try to make some kind of big John Travolta parody of sorts. No. The fact that the John Travolta voices Bolt has nothing to do with what actually happens in the movie. Don't worry.
Oh, believe it or not, the actor they were touting more for that movie was actually Miley Cyrus at the time.
As Penny. Yeah. And to her credit, for as much as I think she's a crap actress, she actually did fine. So.
Miley Cyrus is somebody
who directed that film?
Chris Williams, who later went on one of the co-directors of the Tangled movie.
Hey, remember when Miley Cyrus was going to marry Chris Hemsworth's brother?
And he also helped Don Hall direct Big Hero 6, if I remember correctly.
Two films I enjoyed. So.
All right, let's continue.
Wow, the gate
Yes,
closed
audience.
behind you.
Yes, audience. As bizarre as it could be, considering that I too have been somewhat critical of Disney sometimes. I too could enjoy some Disney animated movies, especially some of the recent ones.
No, Dylan has actually been really enjoying the movies I've been showing him to, check his backlog. He really, for example, he really enjoyed The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and to my surprise, he was mostly fine with the gargoyles. And to quote his actual words, I've seen worse comic relief in these movies.
Yeah, you know what? To the gargoyles.
Do you still stand by that, Lips?
Sorry?
Do you still stand by what you told me when we watched Hunchback, that you've seen worse comic relief, so you're not bothered by the gargoyles too much?
Yeah, I'm not bothered. I mean, for all the fear, for all the people completely give up the gargoyles, seeing them and just seeing them for just being it was kind of reverse disappointing expectations.
Yeah, he was expecting worse. Yeah.
I can get what you mean, though. I mean, I feel like a lot of the complaints on the gargoyles do come from people who, watched it back in the 90s. Back when, more comedic sidekicks were seen as not fitting in it. Whereas nowadays, we've seen much, much, much worse examples of how annoying side characters can be.
And as for the other more recent Disney movies that I've seen, I've enjoyed Tangled. I've enjoyed
Zootopia.
Big Hero 6. I've enjoyed Zootropolis.
I was wondering, Pedro, have you
enjoyed Moana? Sorry, David?
I was wondering, has Pedro shown you what is arguably my favorite era of Disney, the Renaissance era?
Well, I watched that Hunchback of Notre Dame
was
in that era, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, and obviously there's some Disney movies that I
don't
really like. Ranging from just feeling kind of like Wreck-It Ralph to outright deploring like Home on the Range.
I thought you were gonna say Toy Story 4 with that.
No.
I mean, I put it this way: Toy Story 4 did have at least some degree of effort put into it. Home on the Range was just from a studio that just gave up.
Yeah, basically, it's one of those things where for me it's one of those things where. Well, that's the thing, Jova. Like, it's the free golden ages of Disney, as considered as nicknamed by the fans, including the one we're in right now. Are the Golden Age, which is the original age with Walt and his original team, the Renaissance era, which is the one that started with The Little Mermaid and went on the way through the 90s, and now we're going through the revival era, starting with Princess and the Frog.
So that's what they're calling this era.
Also,
they mostly call it revival era because of how they've managed to kind of rise from their ashes of sorts.
Also, on the subject of lower tier Disney movies, in my opinion, Black Cauldron. That's just fucking bizarre.
Yeah,
Black Cauldron.
It's sad when the only real significance the Black Cauldron had was that it was the first proper time. I know there was a time before. It was the first proper time we saw the 2D Disney intro.
Yeah, and Dwebs in particular was very appalled by the horrible green screen.
I know, it's animation. How do you fuck that up?
Black Cauldron is a fascinating movie for all the wrong reasons.
And you know what, actually? That, the planned remake of Black... I'm actually all for Disney remaking the Black Cauldron live action. I mean, it's not like it could be any worse.
Not really.
It's kind of like why I'd be okay with a live action remake of Brave, because honestly, the original Brave is Well, it's brave, all right. It's brave to do some pretty dumb and stupid things.
Anyway, it's another. I would like to contribute to that for your argument with the gargoyles. That's the thing. The main reason why I'm so against the gargoyles is because they feel so out of place with the rest of the movie. Because the movie has a very mature, dark tone to it that's very bold and really makes the movie stand out from the other Disney movies. And then when the gargoyles come up, they just feel like a fucking slap on the face every time they show up because they're so...
Well, maybe that's kind of the point, because I know it's not good. I don't like them any more than anyone else does. But the thing is, it's like, people are going to be taking mostly their children to see this movie. Children who aren't really going to fully comprehend everything in that movie, maybe it's something to just be more lighthearted for them. It's still completely out of place, but that's what I think was
all
the
they needed to
reasoning
do
behind their inclusion.
See, here's the thing. All they needed to do to make the gargoyles work was just do two things. One, please have their dialogue be better written because their jokes are mostly terrible. Second, make it so that they're not actually real. They're actually part of Quasimodo's imagination, but later when we get to the climax, we get final confirmation that they are indeed real. And the sequel even pushes that even further.
The sequel ups their involvement to it. Okay. Regardless of what I will say about them, the way they are in the sequel makes them completely tolerable in the first movie.
Yeah, it's like if they made this cool thing, like for example, the one good moment from the Gargoyle song, A Guy Like You, that I do like, is when the song ends and Quasimodo gets interrupted by Esmeralda looking for shelter for Phoebus. Suddenly, all that colorful party stuff that the gargoyles were using suddenly disappears, and now we just see Quasimodo alone, and the lighting gets back to darker aspect. However, the gargoyles are still there right beside him, just now in stone. So going with the premise that that they're following Quasimodo around, it's just that they turn to stone whenever someone else is around. Here's how I would have done it. Always have the gargoyles be in his imagination, and they never leave the the balcony of the and whenever we have a scene like that, where suddenly the gargoyle bits are interrupted, we have Quasimodo look around and look back at the balcony, and the gargoyles are still there; they never left. See, that would have been a really powerful way to incorporate his loneliness while still having the comic relief. He would have allowed the writers to have their cake and eat it too.
What, Pedro? You're telling me that you didn't like Jason Alexander's romance with the goat?
That's the sad part. How do you made Jason Alexander unfunny? How do you even do that?
Well, North did it.
True. Ooh. That is true. Oh God.
It takes a concentrated effort. Okay. Oh yeah. Can I just say this? What was the point of Jason Alexander's romance with the goat? Yes, I know his character has a name, but as far as I'm concerned, he's Jason Alexander.
Full of power. Thanks, game.
I guess it was them trying to be progressive with a gay romance between a gargoyle and a goat, but the goat doesn't seem to be interested in it.
Anyway, you automatically gather power attack energy from doing damage, and you also gain a small amount of power attack energy from taking damage. What does this translate to? Well, press circle when your power attack gauge is full to create a bubble around yourself, which will increase the critical hit chance of all outgoing arrows which fly through it. So basically what happens is, now we have kind of a meter that will fill when we get damage or when we do damage, and then you can create a bubble that allows you to do the critical hits. That's the basic gist of it. And look at that, more ice platforming!
Wow, there's conveniently these ice blocks that just happen to be floating around, even though they have no business being here because nothing suggests that this place is cold enough.
And as for as for future Disney movies, I'm looking forward to Raya and the Last Dragon. It'll be interesting to see what those
it's gonna be the first
rejigs are gonna do.
Yeah, it's gonna be the first ever Walt Disney Animation Studios movie produced under Jennifer Lee's supervision.
and you know, I did like you know, Onward. That was the first full movie on the Pete
Docter,
Docter's,
yeah.
on running Pixar. So
Wait.
so you know, film score aside, I'm looking forward to Soul.
Yes,
How are
Trevor?
those ice blocks? Those ice blocks are literally appearing out of nowhere.
Okay, I should elaborate. The jazz songs that are going to be written especially for the movie, I'm looking forward to hearing. It's just the actual musical score itself.
Go ahead, Joe. What is
Those
it?
ice blocks were appearing literally right next to the column, like, and there's no way they could come from underneath because you later see that it's coming
Jova,
out. So, what?
Jova, it's magic. We don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Nothing suggests that the ice blocks appearing as magic. You turning them into ice blocks, that's magic, yes, but they're appearing there. That's not magic.
They just do. Shut up. Anyway.
Yeah,
Anyway.
what do you know, Jova? Haven't you heard of suspension of disbelief?
Exactly. See.
Anyway, so Pedro, I'm curious, what's your favorite era of Disney?
My favorite era, right now, is the revival era. Just because it lasts longer, it's already lasting longer than the other eras. And I'm really liking the diversity in particular, because one of the things about the Renaissance era from the 90s is that a lot of movies followed the same basic formula. But the revival era has a lot more variety in its catalog right now. Like we have Big Hero 6, which is a superhero movie. We have the musical movies like Moana and Frozen, but we also have Zootopia, which is very different from all the other movies. So they're doing a better job at having a catalog full of variety. Whereas which the Renaissance era didn't do as good of a job, because pretty much all of them were musicals, you know. So whereas in the revival era they're doing a good pattern where they have a musical, then a non-musical, then a musical, then a non-musical, to keep things varied, you know.
Yeah. Plus the Renaissance era was Renaissance era could sometimes also be a bit inconsistent. Like you had the Lion King, but then you had Pocahontas the very next year. Then you had the Hunchback of Notre Dame and Hercules. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't that huge on Hercules, but it's still a decent movie. And then you had Mulan the next year.
Hey, Milan was very good.
It was. Yes, it was. Yes. Sorry.
Okay. General consensus on Milan was that yes, it was great. Like,
Well, I mean, that's great for the general consensus, but I can only speak for myself.
okay. Anyway, sure. What about you, era-wise of Disney?
I don't really have a specific.
That being said, it's still a lot better than say 2003 through till 2005, and well, you can tell what movies came out in those years.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, what are people calling the era in between the
Oh look!
Renaissance era
Another
and the
reused
revival?
cutscene.
The please help us, we ran out of ideas era.
Oh, hey,
Question,
so
though,
which was
Jova.
pro? Yes.
I don't really care about the distinction between eras. I just like specific movies.
Okay,
enough.
thanks, Mr. Crow, for that incredibly valuable contribution to this cutscene.
Because think about it, Joe.
Taking out the trash.
What does
because
that
think
even
about it,
have
in
to
that-
do with anything?
Because think about it, Jova. In that era that I totally didn't just make up a name for, I swear. We had Brother Boar, Home on the Rage, and Chicken Little Patience.
How nice! Very clever. That is very clever.
It's about bears, not
Pedro, is it?
bullets.
Pedro, it's cleverer than anything in any of those three movies.
Like a good example. Like it's one of those cases where it's always important. Because there's always, for example, audience. Because Walt Disney Animation Studios movies usually have audience pre-screening for audiences. Like you see this in the Into the Unknown documentary for Frozen 2, where there was some feedback where kids were feeling restless because the movie originally started with a narration explaining the new mythology that is introduced in the movie. However, kids in that pre-screening were feeling very restless because they weren't seeing the characters that they love. So Jennifer decided to switch things around, where we start with both the two sisters, and then it's the dad that tells them the story of the mythology. That way, the kids will so retooling movies is actually very important for God development waves. It's very important to make sure.
Oh yeah, I know there's all post-production stuff. It's like when you reshoot a live action, dude.
Yeah. That way you can satisfy the impatient kids while still getting your story through.
And that was
so.
And that was back when reshoots were a commonly accepted thing, not apparently for some reason a sign of movie.
Sure. Anyway, everybody, in the next part,
we have only 3 levels left to go.
We'll continue repeating this. Guess what, guys? Next part, it's the same shtick all over again.
Oh, so should we?
So boring.
I know, right?
Should we just? Should we just reuse the audio for this part then?
Yes.
Wait,
That's,
hold on, Dwibs. What if it's an ocean level instead of an ice or cave level?
Well, that'd be easy. We'll just dub over any time we say ice with ocean.
there you go. See?
But then we have to ask ourselves, would that take more or less time? Because either way, we'd have to end up watching the video.
Less time. I'll record some audios right after we leave. I'll just say water several times.
What we'd have to do is record us saying ocean in our spare time, and then Pedro can edit over the word ice with ocean in post.
Alright. See you for the next part, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.